I went with my best friend to catch her boyfriend cheating. But instead, I caught my own boyfriend, whom I'd been dating for 3 years, in bed with another woman. He protected the mistress, burned my eye with a cigarette, and said harshly, "Cheating isn't illegal." I thought that was the worst of it. But after we broke up, he stalked me relentlessly, blackmailed me with my privacy, and even broke into someone else's home to assault me. In the end, to force me to reconcile with him. He even blinded himself. But what he didn't know was, from the day he cheated and laid his hands on me, I, Chen Yin, would never go back to him. I went to the hotel with my best friend to catch him cheating. I lifted the blanket. And there, I saw Jolie's face. He immediately covered the woman next to him with the blanket. Then, after a pause, he slowly opened his eyes and snarled at us. "Leave now if you don't want to die." My best friend was terrified and pulled me toward the door. But I froze, staring at him, unmoving. Because I'm Jolie's legitimate girlfriend. Wait. Jolie suddenly called out to stop us. He casually lit a cigarette, slowly blowing out a puff of smoke, his gaze landing on me. "If a video of this night gets leaked, no matter who posts it, I'll hold you responsible. Chen Yin, understand?" Jolie called my name lazily, his voice thick with post-coital indifference. "Stop doing behind-the-back tricks. It's really annoying." As soon as his voice fell, I suddenly let out a low laugh. The sound was harsh in the quiet hotel room. Li Yu hid behind me, desperately tugging at my sleeve, sweating with anxiety. I knew what she meant. She wanted me to leave first. After all, Jolie's family had power and wealth, and he had a violent temper. If he lost control, he wouldn't care whether I was a man or woman. And seeing how protective Jolie was of that woman, Li Yu was truly afraid I would be at a disadvantage if I started a scene. But I didn't want to leave. I hadn't done anything wrong. I was standing firm, and I had no reason to back down. "Jolie, you're so brazen, it's honestly confusing." I pushed Li Yu's hand away, stood in front of Jolie, and gave him a mocking smile. "I'm really curious. Who's the one cheating now? Who got caught cheating in a hotel room? Is it you, Jolie, sitting naked on the bed, smoking post-coital cigarettes? Or is it me, who just barged in here without even taking off my shoes? What are you pretending for? What's with the anger? Why are you threatening me when you're the one who's wrong?" I clenched my fists, my voice trembling as I spoke. Even though I was telling myself not to show weakness, I couldn't help but feel the sting in my eyes as I watched Jolie protect the woman next to him. I forced a sarcastic smile, tasting the bitterness in my mouth, my hands shaking. "I am your real girlfriend," I shouted at him, eyes red. "If you don't want me to look, then I'll look even more. If she can do something so disgraceful, doesn't she have the guts to face people?" As soon as I said that, I lunged at the woman hiding under the blanket, desperate to pull it away and see her face. Even if I died, I needed to know, what kind of person had I fallen for? My movement was too quick, too sudden. Jolie was obviously startled, but he quickly reacted, his face darkening. He grabbed the back of my shirt and yanked me backward. As I lost my balance and fell, Hu Li raised his foot and kicked me in the stomach with all his force. I was thrown backward and landed hard on the ground. A sharp pain shot up my tailbone, and I screamed in agony. "Jolie!" I was crying, my voice shaking from the pain. But I stubbornly stared at him, gritting out each word. "I am your girlfriend." "So what?" Jolie's face showed impatience, his brow furrowing as he looked down at me. "Chen Yin, is cheating illegal? What did you say?" My mind went blank. I couldn't process it. I stared at Jolie's perfect lips, forcing a smile that was even uglier than crying, and asked, "Jolie, what did you mean? What do you mean by that? How could a morally decent person ask a question like that?" But Jolie didn't look at me again. Instead, he asked the woman in bed if she was okay. Only when she answered softly did he finally relax. And then he returned his gaze to me. In that moment, looking into his cold eyes, I suddenly felt weak, as if all my strength had drained away. I'd known Jolie for 5 years and had been together for 3. I knew him too well. So well that just one look made it clear, he didn't love me anymore. His eyes, which used to be full of warmth and affection, were now filled with irritation. It was as if looking at me for one more second would make him vomit. The realization made my heart stop. I struggled to get up from the floor, knowing the answer already, but still hoping, my voice trembling. "Jolie, are you breaking up with me? You really like this mistress?" don't you? I couldn't hold back anymore and raised my voice, pointing at the woman on the bed, my eyes red. But the next second, Jolie threw his cigarette at me. Shut up. He yelled at me. This is between us. Don't drag her into this. Jolie's gaze was icy as he stared at me. She's not like you. If I hear anything disgusting coming from your mouth again, I swear, next time it won't just be you shutting up. You know I always mean what I say. I stood there, stunned, watching him, unable to dodge the cigarette that hit me. It landed right under my eye, searing my skin. The hot ash flew into my eye, and the pain was unbearable. In an instant, my right eye was covered in a red haze. I instinctively reached up, feeling the warmth of blood mixed with tears streaming down my face. As I looked at the blood on my fingertips, my ears started ringing, and everything went silent. I saw Li Yu rushing toward me, her face filled with worry. But Jolie was still staring at me, his expression filled with disgust. His mouth moved, as if saying something cruel. But I couldn't hear it. It wasn't until Li Yu grabbed my hand that I slowly started to hear again. I heard Jolie's words. I cheated. What fucking law did I break? He sneered at me. Do you think you can judge me? Don't talk about being my girlfriend. Even if you were my wife, what's it to you? If you're so upset, should I get a cop to arrest me? I froze, looking at him in disbelief. The man I'd been with for over 3 years. It wasn't until now that I realized I had never truly known him. After all those years in bed together, I never really knew him. After a long silence, I suddenly let out a laugh, light and empty. Okay, I get it now. Jolie, you're right. Cheating isn't illegal. So let's break up. Jolie paused, surprised. He stared at me for a while, probably not expecting me to be so decisive. After a moment, he lit another cigarette, coldly saying, "Fine, whatever. Go ahead, leave." As I left with Li Yu, Jolie called after us. "Remember to delete the video. I don't want to see it anywhere else." I simply replied, "Okay." Maybe it was because I agreed so quickly, so casually, that Jolie's actions slowed down, filled with doubt. But he didn't ask any more questions. I closed the door behind me, and only then did I release Li Yu's hand, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. I bit my lip hard to suppress the sobs that were about to burst from my throat. I told myself I shouldn't cry. He was just a cheating bastard. What's there to cry about? But no matter how hard I tried to swallow the pain, the tears wouldn't stop. The pain and injustice inside me surged, bringing waves of sharp discomfort. I could hardly stand. I had been with Jolie for 3 whole years. 3 years. Even if I raised a dog, I'd have feelings. Let alone a living person. He used to be the one who kissed and hugged me every day. The one who dropped everything to travel the world with me. The one who, after hearing me casually say, "I miss you," would take the earliest flight the next morning just to be with me. I once thought about all the possible futures with Jolie. Maybe we'd get married, or maybe we'd break up peacefully. But I never imagined our relationship would end like this, with his cheating and threats to kill me for the mistress. How ridiculous. These 3 years have felt like a joke. I squatted at the hotel staircase, hugging my knees, sobbing uncontrollably, asking Li Yu between gasps, "Is this how all relationships end, in such a stupid way?" Li Yu wiped my tears with a tissue, sighed, and was about to speak when her hand suddenly froze. Then I heard her urgently whisper in my ear, "Don't cry yet. I've got an opportunity for you to vent. Wipe your tears, get up, and let's go." I was still dazed as Li Yu dragged me up. Before I knew what was happening, she led me straight toward the couple who had just come out of the hotel. When I saw the man's face, I realized he was Li Yu's boyfriend. I barely recognized the panicked expression on his face. The next second, Li Yu swung her handbag with a sharp spike and slammed it into his face. "I'll make you cheat." Li Yu screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Cheap bastard. I'll make you cheat. I'll make you find a mistress." She grabbed the mistress by the hair and swung the bag again. Her boyfriend, realizing the situation, tried to run. But Li Yu grabbed him by the neck and slammed him to the ground. Then, she began kicking him fiercely with all her strength. Her high heels stomped on his face, madly attacking his lower body. Finally, after releasing her anger, Li Yu spat on his face and yelled, You men are all trash. Just garbage." After shouting this, Li Yu grabbed my hand, and we ran off. We ran so fast that my tears were blown away by the wind. Eventually, We stopped at a street corner. In that moment, we looked at each other and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Lee Yu took a deep breath and asked, "Are you still upset?" "Just a little." I gasped and answered with a smile. "But it's not because my heart hurts. It's just that my eye feels like it got burned. It hurts so much. I might have to go to the hospital." "Good. The pain means you're alive." Lee Yu looked at me with a complex expression, as she hailed a cab to take me to the hospital, saying, "Remember this pain. It was Jolie who gave it to you. Don't ever go back to him." I lowered my eyes, looking at the blood on my fingertips, forcing a smile and saying, I won't have anything to do with Jolie anymore. I'm not that cheap. I won't go crawling back to him to get beaten. I'm completely done with Jolie. My eyes are fine, nothing serious. Just some corneal damage, so for a while, it'll feel like there's something in my eye. It'll sting, and I'll keep tearing up. I put on an eye patch and took some medicine before leaving the hospital. Lee Yu wanted to take me home, but I refused. Our houses aren't on the way, and it would take her an extra hour to drop me off and go back. It's unnecessary. She couldn't argue. So she compromised and told me to message her when I got home. Okay, I smiled and waved goodbye. Go ahead and get in. Don't keep the driver waiting. Lee Yu nodded, climbing into the car. I kept smiling as I watched her leave, until the car's shadow disappeared completely. And then my smile slowly faded. I knew I shouldn't feel sad. I knew Jolie was a jerk. He was a jerk through and through, his dirtiness clear as day. But I still couldn't stop myself. I still felt hurt, still felt pain, still wrapped in sourness, like a bitter, tart lemon. I walked aimlessly into a convenience store, bought a can of alcohol, and sat by the large window, staring out at the people passing by. I didn't want to go anywhere, do anything. I just wanted to empty my mind. So I sat in the corner of the store, silently drinking can after can. 3 cans later, the pain inside me was at least subdued. The side effect was a little dizziness. I staggered to my feet, ready to leave. But 2 long-haired, scruffy guys appeared beside me, laughing and leaning in close. One of them put his hand on my shoulder and blew a puff of breath in my face. "Hey, beautiful, it's no fun drinking alone. Why not join us?" I was caught off guard and stumbled as they pulled me. Maybe it was just my one good eye. Or maybe it was the alcohol. But everything was spinning in front of me. I wanted to break free, but I couldn't muster the strength. One of them flashed a sly grin at his buddy and then reached out to hug me. "Get off me." I trembled with anger, shouting, "Don't touch me, I'll call the police." But they didn't care. Instead, they continued laughing and surrounded me, pushing me out of the store. The cold wind outside hit me, and my foggy mind cleared a little. I struggled harder, but the more I fought, the tighter they held me. One of them even covered my mouth, afraid I'd scream, and dragged me toward a dark alley. I froze, wide-eyed, struggling with all my might. But there was no escaping. I looked around desperately for someone to help. That's when I suddenly locked eyes with someone familiar. He was standing across the street, a cigarette dangling from his mouth, watching as he helped a slim figure into the back of a car. As if he sensed my gaze, he looked up, his eyes scanning my direction. And in that moment, our eyes met. Jolie saw me. The realization made my heart race. He saw me. He must have seen me being dragged away. He must have noticed how unwilling and scared I was. My heart raced faster, and instinctively, I reached out toward him. Back then, Jolie would have rushed over just to pull someone off me if they bumped into my shoulder. He'd hold me in his arms with possessive fury. He promised he'd protect me. I silently called his name, tears blurring my vision, desperately looking at him. But the next second, Jolie averted his gaze, as if he didn't see anything. He lowered his head, nonchalantly lighting a cigarette. My breath caught in my throat. I felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over me. Shivering with disbelief, I stared blankly as they dragged me into the alley. Suddenly, an unexpected surge of strength coursed through me. I broke free from one of their grips and, with a quick swing, punched the guy in the nose. As he yelped in pain and bent down clutching his face, I grabbed my bag and swung it at the other guy's midsection. Then turned and ran, not looking back, running as fast as I could. But when I reached the alley's entrance, I unexpectedly ran straight into a familiar embrace. The familiar scent of wood and a hint of sweet orange perfume. I froze, looking up into Jolie's eyes. The next second, I shoved him away with all my might, swinging my bag and hitting him square in the face. Forgot to hit you while I was dealing with those bastards. Joe Lee staggered back, his face turning red from the hit. You hit me? He was incredulous, his hand gingerly touching his cheek, raising an eyebrow. I ignored him, turning to run toward a nearby taxi. Leaving tonight, and everything behind me. Joe Lee, love, all of it, just a load of crap. It's all fake. I wiped my tears and told myself, no more crying. After tonight, if I shed another tear for Joe Lee, I'll have no respect for myself. Sitting in the cab, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Joe Lee. A selfie, with his face showing a few scratches from my bag. Along with the photo, he added, pretty strong. I closed my eyes, tempted to delete him. But another message popped up. I have a lot of photos and videos of you. You'd better not delete me. I'm not sure where these things might end up. I laughed in anger. Another threat. It seemed like Joe Lee had been threatening me all night. First, he said he'd kill me. Then he threatened to release my private photos. Does he think I'm some soft target he can easily control? I typed fast, gritting my teeth, and replied, go ahead, post whatever you want. If you need more, I've got plenty, as if I've never taken pictures. It's just flesh. Everyone comes into this world naked. And they leave the same way. What's the big deal? And I'm a normal person. I slept with my ex. I'm not ashamed of it, and I won't feel embarrassed. The real shame lies with the scum who try to use those photos and videos to threaten women. I was disgusted, so I sent the message. Then swiftly blocked him and deleted him from my contacts. On the other end, Joe Lee saw the red exclamation mark on the message he'd sent and, surprisingly, didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed, clicked into my contact info, and sent one last message. I've never seen you angry before. I kinda like this side of you. Before I could respond, I gritted my teeth and typed, fuck off. Then, I blocked his number. Every possible way to contact me. I went through and blocked him. I deleted everything related to Joe Lee, every message. By the time I finished, it was past 1 a.m. I thought I'd spend the night tossing and turning over breaking up with Joe Lee. But when I finished showering and lay in bed, I quickly fell asleep without thinking about anything. The next morning, Lee Yu came over early to check on me because she was worried. She found me not only with no swollen eyes but in good spirits. Packing my camera, ready to go out for a shoot. Aren't your eyes sore? Maybe you shouldn't go. Lee Yu looked worried, thinking I was pretending. I smiled and reassured her. I'm fine. It's just a breakup. I'm not dying. No need to wallow in self-pity. And I had already promised someone today's outdoor shoot. I can't flake on them. Lee Yu didn't manage to change my mind. She gave me a long look, let go of my hand, and kept reminding me, be careful on the road. Don't do anything stupid. Call me if you need help. I couldn't help but smile. Lee Yu thought I was lying, but in reality, I wasn't. I really did have a shoot scheduled with someone else. He'd been waiting for a long time to get today's slot. And today happened to be his birthday. I couldn't cancel just because of my personal issues. That would go against my conscience. When I got to Central Park, Wen Suiyu had been waiting for a while. I found him in the corner, and when I waved, he froze for a second, staring at my eye patch. Teacher, what happened to your eye? Oh, I got in a fight and lost. Got injured. I waved my hand dismissively, a little helpless. Wen Suiyu looked at me in disbelief, his eyes wide. And after a long moment, he stammered, next time, if you get into a fight, call me. I'm 186 meters tall, and I work out. I can help protect you in the front. I couldn't help but laugh. All right, I wiped the tears from my eyes. Grinning, I'll definitely call you next time. Wen Suiyu, only after a moment, realized that I might have been joking. His face turned slightly red, and he smiled awkwardly. The two of us exchanged a few words, closing the distance, and then I started taking photos. The shoot went smoothly. After all, Wen Suiyu is tall and handsome. He just stood there, and he looked like a mannequin. No matter how I shot, it was always good. We got more and more into it. From Central Park to the museum. Shooting from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. By the end, both of us were extremely satisfied. Look at this shot. Your profile. The atmosphere. The lighting. It's perfect. I stared at the photo like I was admiring a piece of art. Wen Suiyu leaned in, looking at it with me. As he listened to me, he tilted his head slightly, his ears turning faintly red. He muttered softly, it's not that great, huh? I didn't hear what he said clearly and turned to look at him in confusion. Wen Suiyu quickly avoided my gaze and cleared his throat before speaking. I'm a bit hungry. Teacher, how about we go eat? I'll treat. Okay. I didn't hesitate. The commercial street near the city center had plenty of food. I'll take some indoor shots for you then. I packed my camera into my bag, and we headed out. After walking for a few minutes, we reached our destination. I stepped onto the downward escalator. And just as I was getting steady, my phone buzzed with a message from Li Yu. I was about to open it when I lost my footing and almost stepped off the edge. Luckily, Wen Suiyu was quick, grabbing me. Teacher, be careful, watch your step. He supported me and whispered. I gripped his arm, embarrassed, my face reddening. Just as I was about to speak, I suddenly felt something tighten around my neck. Then a strong force yanked me back. My body was pulled backward uncontrollably, nearly falling onto the stairs. I thought my camera bag must have gotten caught on something. I turned my head, only to meet Zhou Li's gaze. Standing on the adjacent escalator. Our eyes locked, and he gave me a half-smile, greeting me. Hey, in his hand was my camera bag. And he didn't seem like he was going to let go. Chen Yin, I think you should come up. Zhou Li smiled brightly as he rode the upward escalator. He wasn't going to let go. So, this meant I had to run up the escalator to get to him? Crazy. I gritted my teeth, barely thinking, and grabbed my bag's strap. I turned to Wen Suiyu and asked, do you have strength? Wen Suiyu hesitated for a moment but quickly realized what I meant. He grabbed the strap of my bag. And with a nod from me, he yanked it hard. Zhou Li was suddenly pulled back, stumbling 2 steps before stabilizing. His expression immediately darkened. The next second, I unzipped the bag, took out the camera, and threw the strap towards Zhou Li. In a cold tone, I said, you'd better never let go. I clenched my teeth, grabbed Wen Suiyu's hand, and dragged him down the escalator. Zhou Li's face darkened, and from behind, he shouted, Chen Yin. I didn't turn back but raised my hand and gave him the international friendly gesture. Running into Zhou Li like this. What bad luck. I muttered, completely oblivious to the fact that I was still holding Wen Suiyu's hand. It wasn't until we walked quite a bit that I finally stopped to check the camera. Then I suddenly realized. Quickly letting go of his hand. Feeling embarrassed as I apologized. Sorry. Wen Suiyu smiled and quickly changed the subject. Is the camera okay? It's fine. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness it's fine. Or I would have been heartbroken. This lens is one I just bought recently. I finished checking it, feeling reassured. Wen Suiyu seemed relieved too, walking beside me. He kept glancing at me, then suddenly asked, Teacher, is that guy from earlier your friend? He asked carefully. And I paused for a moment before answering. No, he's not a friend. He's my ex-boyfriend. Wen Suiyu seemed to pause. His expression a bit complicated. He muttered an apology and quickly closed his mouth. I didn't mind at all. 1 or 2 scumbag exes aren't a big deal. I've already moved on from Zhou Li. From now on, he goes his way, and I go mine. As long as he doesn't come after me, I'll treat him like a stranger. Wen Suiyu and I found a random tea restaurant. Once we sat down, I noticed the lighting was great. So I decided to start shooting him before the food came. Wen Suiyu was very cooperative. He did whatever I asked, biting the spoon when I told him to, looking obedient and cute, like someone who's easy to tease. I thought this to myself and, without realizing it, said it out loud. When I realized it, my face turned bright red. I quickly waved my hands and tried to explain. But when I looked up and saw Wen Suiyu's face also bright red, I couldn't say anything. Luckily, the food came just then, and I pretended to fan myself and focus on eating, trying to brush off the awkward atmosphere. As we ate, Wen Suiyu suddenly asked, Teacher, why did you and your ex break up? I feel like he might still like you. His words caught me off guard, and I choked on my food, coughing hard. Wen Suiyu quickly handed me a glass of water and patted my back, helping me recover a bit. I couldn't help but ask, how did you come to that conclusion? That's impossible. If Zhou Li still liked me, why would he sleep with someone else? He couldn't even be loyal to his partner. How could he talk about liking anyone? It was just a joke. Wen Suiyu smiled. Maybe it's a guy's intuition. And the way he looks at you. It's not friendly. I froze, then met Wen Suiyu's gaze and gave a mocking smile. We broke up because he cheated. I pointed at my eyes and said, he burned them with a cigarette. Wen Suiyu froze. His face visibly panicked. and he hurriedly apologized. I smiled and said, "It's fine, actually, not just when Suiyu. I also don't understand how Jolie and I ended up like this. When we first got together, everything was sweet like a fairy tale. We met through photography. 5 years ago, I took a street shoot for Taobao. While waiting for a break, I turned and unexpectedly saw Jolie sitting outside a coffee shop. He was wearing a simple white shirt and black suit pants. Leaning back in his chair, his head slightly tilted backward, basking in the sunlight. The sunlight hit him, casting a golden glow on his face. And I held my breath, afraid of disturbing him. I couldn't resist taking a few photos. Half an hour later, when Jolie stood up to leave, I hurried to print the photos and shyly approached him, saying, "Hello, I'm a photographer. I saw you over there and thought you had great presence. So I took some photos of you. I hope you don't mind." Jolie didn't take the photos from my hand. He just tilted his head and stared at me for a long time. I thought he didn't like being photographed and quickly added, "Sorry, if you mind, I'll delete the originals right now." "Really? I'm very sorry." I hurriedly started to delete the photos. But Jolie stopped me. I looked up in surprise, and he smiled. "No need to delete. They look good. Can you send me the original files?" That's how I ended up adding his contact info in a daze. At first, we didn't talk much. After all, we weren't that familiar with each other. And I didn't know what to say. Until one day, I was heading out with friends, rushing to catch a high-speed train, but couldn't get a taxi, so I reluctantly drove my minicar. And of course, not long after I started driving, I ended up scraping another car. It turned out, by pure coincidence, that the car I scraped was Jolie's. I reluctantly offered to compensate him. But Jolie asked, "Are you in a hurry? Where are you going?" I told him I was rushing to catch a train. And Jolie raised an eyebrow, replying, "I'll take you. With your driving skills, I'm afraid you'll crash into someone else before you even get out of the street." My face turned bright red with embarrassment. And I couldn't even get a word out. Jolie, on the other hand, smiled and casually ruffled my hair, saying, "Just kidding, my car's faster. Get in, I'll have my friend park your car at a nearby lot." Since he said it so easily, I didn't reject him. I got into Jolie's car, and as we chatted, I found out the city I was headed to was his hometown. I was surprised and said, "I studied there for 4 years. Jolie seemed a bit surprised and mentioned a university name. I nodded excitedly. "My house is right next to that university." Jolie's words made my eyes widen in disbelief. I didn't expect us to have such a connection. Maybe when fate strikes, you can't avoid it, no matter what. We kept talking more and more animatedly until he dropped me off at the train station, both of us feeling a bit reluctant to part ways. Later, I brought back some local specialties and handed them to Jolie. He gave me a deep look, and from then on, we became friends. Actually, I don't remember how we ended up in a relationship. It was like the night we confirmed it. I don't even remember who held whose hand first while we were walking by the river. All I remember is, right at midnight, fireworks suddenly exploded across the river, one after another, until the final burst revealed my name in the center. Then came those words, "Will you be my girlfriend?" I was stunned, turned to look, and found myself staring into Jolie's eyes, which were even brighter than the fireworks. And so, Jolie and I got together. All relationships start off sweet. We kissed under the fireworks, watched stars on the mountain peaks, and couldn't wait to be together every moment. In fact, on the 5th day of being together, he directly took me to meet his parents. That's when I found out how wealthy his family was. His parents weren't too fond of me and kept a stern face at dinner. I felt awkward, didn't know what to say, and just kept my head down eating. But Jolie suddenly snapped, coldly slamming the table, "She's my wife. We're a package deal. If you have an issue with her, you have an issue with me. If you don't like her, then forget the dinner." I was taken aback, but the way Jolie defended me made my heart race. It was both a panic and a warm rush from deep inside. At that moment, I really thought Jolie and I would have a happy ending. He loved me, and I loved him. We were both willing to fight for each other. Until the day I went with Li Yu to catch Jolie cheating. Accidentally walked into the wrong room, and saw that scene. It was sudden, dramatic, and completely confusing. I've been racking my brain, but I still can't understand. Why did Jolie cheat? When Suiyu listened to all of this with a subtle expression and suddenly spoke, "Could it be that your relationship was too perfect?" Huh? I stared at him in disbelief. Is that supposed to be a reason? Is it really that easy to explain? Could it be a little ridiculous? Is the world crazy? Or am I crazy? You told me that you never argued, had no conflicts, and that his likes, tastes, and even lifestyle perfectly matched yours. In novels, that's a perfect match. But in reality, Wen Suiyu sighed, looking at me intently, and said, this relationship was too smooth, too perfect. No setbacks, no ups and downs, and no external distractions. It was so smooth that it was almost impossible to find happiness or fulfillment within it. My mind suddenly went blank. Are you saying, he still loves me? I paused, and continued with difficulty, one word at a time. But our relationship was so good, so stable, that's why he cheated? After I said that, Wen Suiyu nodded. Crazy. I stared at him, almost laughing at the absurdity of it all. Are you out of your mind? This ridiculous theory is beyond belief. A stable relationship. A partner who fits perfectly with you. Mutual respect. Understanding. How every couple dreams of it. We've been together for years without arguing over petty things. How could anyone get tired of this kind of life? Unless that person is a complete psychopath. I wanted to rebut, but Wen Suiyu suddenly pointed behind me, signaling me to look. I turned around and met Jolie's dark, brooding gaze outside the glass door. In that moment, I froze. Seeing the intense emotions swirling in his eyes. I knew that expression too well. It was the look of jealousy. Of possessiveness. It was the same expression he had when I forgot to reply to his message and he pinned me to the bed, biting my shoulder. Forcing me to apologize and say I loved him. How ridiculous. How do I even describe how I felt at this moment? I can't put it into words. All I could hear was a ringing in my ears. And then everything went silent. After what felt like an eternity, I saw Jolie walking toward me. And the overwhelming emotions began to dissipate. Until everything turned to nothingness. I turned to Wen Suiyu and asked, do you have a girlfriend? Wen Suiyu was taken aback and instinctively shook his head. In the next second, I stood up, leaned forward, and kissed his lips. The moment our lips met, Wen Suiyu's eyes widened, and he tried to pull away in panic. But I held him tight. Please help me? I looked at him with my remaining eye, pleading. Wen Suiyu's gaze was briefly distracted by my medical eye patch. But before he could respond, Jolie had reached us and grabbed my hand, coldly demanding, Chen Yin, what are you doing? I raised my gaze coldly, ready to speak. But Wen Suiyu stood up first, slowly prying Jolie's fingers off my hand, saying, Sir, please don't lay your hands on my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Jolie suddenly scoffed sarcastically. Do you even know her name? Do you know where she lives? Do you know how many moles she has? What do you even know to be calling her that? Wen Suiyu smiled softly but said nothing, simply extending his hand to me in invitation. Without hesitation, I placed my hand in his. Then, standing expressionless, I passed by Jolie and stood next to Wen Suiyu. There was no need for words. That simple gesture was enough to silence Jolie's questioning. And his face immediately darkened. Wen Suiyu and I didn't want to engage with Jolie any longer. As we turned to leave, Jolie's voice rang out behind us, barely containing his anger. Chen Yin, come back. I knew he was your client. You don't need to use him to provoke me. Come back. Jolie raised his gaze, glaring at my back, speaking slowly. Before this goes too far, come to me. Wen Suiyu looked down at me. Let's go. I whispered. It's too noisy here. I don't like it. I don't like anything about this place. Wen Suiyu had no objections, leading me out. We completely ignored Jolie. And that angered him. As we pushed open the door, we could clearly hear the sound of dishes smashing on the floor. I didn't need to look back to know how furious Jolie was. In the past, he had overturned his parents' table for me. Back then, I was young, and I benefited from it. I thought his over-the-top behavior was just a bit much. But deep down, I was more touched by how he stood by me against his parents. But now, 3 years later, I suddenly realized that his temper wasn't just exaggerated. He'd throw tables and plates when angry. And sometimes even hit people. That's his true nature. The side of him I'd overlooked. The real Jolie. It's disgusting. I spent so many years loving someone like this. After walking a long distance, I was about to say goodbye to Wen Suiyu. But just as I was about to speak, Wen Suiyu suddenly reached out and pulled me into his arms, guiding me toward the direction of the three-way intersection. I looked up at him, and when I saw Jolie's lingering face, a chill ran down my spine. I couldn't bring myself to go home alone. So I grabbed Wen Suiyu's hand, asking, "Can I stay at your place for a while?" Wen Suiyu nodded and led me to a cab. The car drove past the intersection. I brushed shoulders with Zhou Li. He stared at me without blinking. I was silent for a moment, then pulled out my phone, removed him from my blacklist, and typed, "Zhou Li, I hope you understand clearly. We've broken up. You cheated first. Don't contact me again." Zhou Li replied almost immediately, "Impossible. There's no connection between this." I couldn't help but laugh in anger. No connection? He could say that with a straight face. Unbelievable. I was so pissed off. But as I glanced at Wen Suiyu, remembering what he said earlier in the tea restaurant, I hesitated. By some odd chance, I deleted my harsh words and sent Zhou Li, "We've broken up. You can sleep with anyone else. I won't care. And if I sleep with someone else, you have no right to stop me." After sending that, I turned off my phone screen. The next second, my phone started vibrating non-stop, with messages popping up one after another. But I didn't open them, not even for a quick glance. On my way to Wen Suiyu's house, my phone kept ringing, all from numbers I didn't recognize. I was too lazy to hang up each one individually, so I just turned on airplane mode. In an instant, the whole world went quiet. By the time I arrived at Wen Suiyu's house, it was almost 4 in the afternoon. Earlier, at the tea restaurant, I didn't really eat anything. So now, sitting down, my stomach finally started to growl with hunger. Both of our stomachs grumbled at the same time. Wen Suiyu rummaged through his fridge and decided to whip up some quick tomato meat sauce pasta with cheese. After about 10 minutes, the steaming pasta was ready. Wen Suiyu served me a big bowl, and I couldn't help but laugh. "You don't have to give me so much. I can't finish it." "It's fine. If you can't finish it, just leave it." Wen Suiyu smiled and handed me the bowl. But the pasta was too hot, and I wasn't careful enough. I ended up spilling half the bowl all over myself. Luckily, I was wearing long sleeves and pants, or I might have gotten 2 big blisters. Still, my clothes were ruined, all stained with tomato sauce. Wen Suiyu hurried to grab some wet wipes and started wiping me down, looking regretful. "It's my fault. All my fault. The bowl was too hot. I didn't think it through." "It's okay. It's not that bad. I didn't burn myself. Just my clothes got dirty." I tried to reassure him. Wen Suiyu bit his lip and suddenly suggested, "Why don't you take off your clothes? And I'll help you wash them? I have new clothes you can wear." He was so insistent. I had no choice but to agree. I changed clothes and started eating the pasta while Wen Suiyu went to the bathroom to wash the clothes. Halfway through, someone knocked on the door. I instinctively went to open it, and when I saw Zhou Li, my hand acted before my brain could register. I immediately tried to slam the door shut. But Zhou Li reached out and gripped the doorframe tightly. Even when I slammed the door with all my strength, he didn't let go. His gaze, however, turned dark when he saw the obvious men's clothes I was wearing. His face darkening, his eyes bloodshot, and his voice trembling. "You slept with him? None of your business." As soon as I saw his betrayed expression, I got angry. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face with all the strength I could muster, sending his face to the side. "What right do you have to question me? In other words, what qualifications does Zhou Li have to ask me anything? I didn't cheat, and I didn't break any laws. Why should my actions concern him?" I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. Since he wouldn't let go, I just kept trying to close the door. As for Zhou Li's grip on the doorframe, what did it have to do with me? I scowled and slammed the door shut again. But this time Zhou Li stuck his foot in the way. The next second, he suddenly pushed his way in, shoving me against the wall. He grabbed my neck and started kissing me relentlessly, almost suffocating me in an instant. "Did he kiss you here?" Zhou Li's voice was harsh as he bit my lip. "How's his kissing? Better than mine? Where else did he kiss you? Your neck? Your collarbone? Or your chest?" As he spoke, he pinned me down, opening his mouth and lowering his head to bite my neck. "Are you crazy? Let go of me." I was trembling with rage, desperately trying to struggle. But he pressed his body down on me. As I struggled, I suddenly felt him react in a certain way, freezing me in place. The first thing that flashed through my mind was disgust. So disgusting. It made me want to throw up. I fought to hold back the urge to vomit, grabbing his. Zhou Li froze. He lifted his head from my neck and stared at me, his voice hoarse and filled with desire. "Yin Yin." I smiled at him faintly and whispered, "Zhou Li." He looked into my eyes, breathing harder, and his grip relaxed a little. It seemed like he was about to kiss me again. I smiled even more brightly. Then, in that split second when Jolie let his guard down, I squatted down quickly and yanked at him with all my strength. The next second, I heard Jolie's blood-curdling scream of pain. Wen Suiyu, who had been washing clothes in the bathroom, heard the noise and rushed out just in time to see me kick Jolie in the stomach. Jolie, clutching his groin in pain, was sent sprawling out the door as I slammed it shut behind him. I turned to face Wen Suiyu, and I could see him swallow nervously. After a long pause, Wen Suiyu asked, "There's a security camera outside. Do you want to check it?" "Yes." I nodded. We watched the footage, where Jolie was curled up on the ground, clutching his groin, biting his lip to stifle his cries. He rolled around in pain, but wouldn't make a sound, as if afraid we'd hear it. Wen Suiyu broke into a cold sweat as he whispered, "Should we call an ambulance for him? I'm afraid he'll die in front of my door. He has hands and feet. If he wants an ambulance, he can call for one." I slowly turned my gaze from the screen and calmly continued eating my pasta. Wen Suiyu didn't say anything else. After we were full and waiting for the clothes to dry, I borrowed Wen Suiyu's computer to edit some photos. There wasn't much to fix. Wen Suiyu looked great on camera. Good face, good body. Just some minor adjustments to the details, a little color correction. By the time I finished editing the photos, it was already dark outside. The security footage showed that Jolie had long since left. I didn't care when he left. I just changed back into my clothes and politely said goodbye to Wen Suiyu. He offered to drive me home, but I refused. "It's fine. He'll probably be at the hospital tonight. Won't have time for me. After all, I did use quite a bit of force earlier." I almost broke his. Wen Suiyu opened his mouth, about to say something, but his face turned red, and after a long pause, he finally managed to say, "Just be careful." I smiled at him and nodded. When I got home and opened the door, seeing Jolie sitting in my living room with pale lips, I felt nothing. He had my house keys. I had already guessed he would show up. After all, our issues needed to be resolved. Jolie, weakly leaning on the chair, stared at me for a long time. When I finally set everything down and sat across from him, Jolie slowly spoke. "You slept with him. We're even." I laughed. "So what? How does that even compare? What's the point? No matter what, I've always had normal relationships with others. What gives Jolie the right to even say something like that? You cheated. We're not the same. This can't be equal." Jolie closed his eyes and said to me, "Chen Yin, if you're going to be so stubborn, I'll apologize." I told myself not to get angry, but when I heard Jolie say that, I couldn't stop myself from laughing. So Jolie cheats, and I make a scene. I'm the one being unreasonable. My boyfriend sleeps in bed with another woman, and I'm not supposed to be angry? Not supposed to lose it? Not supposed to be hysterical? Did you even think about what you just said? I'm human, not a damn ninja turtle. This isn't something that can be fixed with a simple apology. Jolie, however, didn't seem to get it. He clenched his fists and looked at me, asking, "You slept with him, and I can forgive you. As long as you come back to me, I can forgive you." As soon as he finished speaking, I didn't hesitate for a second. I grabbed the cup on the table and threw it hard at Jolie's face. I finally understood. I would never win an argument with this lunatic, because he never thinks he's in the wrong. "I don't need your forgiveness." I gritted my teeth and said slowly, word by word, "Because I wasn't the one who cheated in this relationship, and I'll never have anything to do with you again. Jolie, wake up. When you slept with other women, we were done. There's no going back." I threw the cup at him, hitting his forehead. Blood started to trickle down his brow. He touched his forehead and looked at me, asking, "So, what now? How'd I get your forgiveness?" "Crazy. You're a crazy idiot who doesn't understand anything." I gritted my teeth, replying, "It's impossible. The pain I went through isn't something you can just talk away with a few words. The heart-wrenching pain. I never want to experience that again. Get out." I stood up, looking down at Jolie. "We'll never have a future. Don't ever bother me again. Let's part on good terms. After being together for so long, let's at least keep some dignity. Don't make me look down on you. Don't make me regret dating you for 3 years." After saying that, I turned to open the door, trying to get him to leave. But suddenly, Jolie's voice came from behind me. "If I suffer the same pain you did, will you give me another chance?" I didn't understand his meaning, turned around, and saw Jolie expressionlessly holding the cup I had just thrown at him. He stared at me with wounded eyes. Then suddenly slammed the cup into his own face. The first hit didn't draw blood. Jolie immediately hit himself 2 more times. Blood poured out. And only then did he give a satisfied smile and stumble toward me. Chen Yin, I'm just like you now, do you know? Seeing you with him. Hearing what happened inside, I almost went crazy. I was wrong. I can't accept you leaving me. Jolie's eyes were red as he reached out to grab me. You see, now I understand your pain. Even the injury is the same. We're still the same. The perfect match. Will you forgive me? Let's get back together, like before. This time, I won't make the same mistake. We'll get married, have 2 kids, a dog, and live the life you want. Yin Yin, will you marry me? I was so scared that my face turned pale. I backed away quickly and called the police and an ambulance. It's impossible. I shook my head, saying each word carefully. I don't want to see you again. You disgust me. After I said the last word, I rushed into my bedroom, slamming the door shut behind me. Before Jolie could catch me, I locked the door. The police broke it down, and Jolie was subdued before he could destroy anything else. At the police station, they were probably seeing something like this for the first time. The victim was unharmed, but the perpetrator was covered in blood. Jolie was sent to the hospital for treatment. I stayed at the station to make a report. Since it was a domestic dispute, and I hadn't been injured, it seemed like Jolie wouldn't face any consequences. Everything went as I expected. The only difference was that Jolie went blind. He didn't hold back when he slammed the cup, and nearly destroyed his whole eye. When he woke up, he went into a frenzy, smashing everything he could find in the hospital. He was screaming for me. I went to see him once. He was tied up, sitting on the bed, staring at me, still saying the same thing. Yin Yin, I'm like you now. Will you forgive me? His voice was filled with pleading. I shook my head slowly, then peeled off the medical eye patch on my own eye. I softly told him, we're not the same. I'm whole, and you're blind. We're not the same. You don't deserve me. I'll never be with someone like you. After I finished speaking, I stood up and walked away. Behind me, I heard the sound of him crashing to the ground. Then came Jolie's heart-wrenching scream, and him calling out for the doctor and me. I didn't turn around. He made his own mess, and now he has to face the consequences.